You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Paul Knight is our guest. He's running for the mayor of Wilmington in the November election, and we're talking one-on-one. Another issue relative to the convention center is this collapsed deal of the adjacent privately developed hotel. What would you do with it?
What would I do?
What would you do with the deal? How would you lead us if you're
Well, the
mayor?
big argument with the hotel is
Would you build it, number one?
You mean the hotel?
Yeah.
If the current administration stays in, I believe they're going to find a way to put a hotel there, whether it's city or privately funded, because they are convinced they've got to have a hotel. The big question is whether it's a full-service hotel or whether it's a...
What would you do? That's my question.
What would I do?
Yeah.
If this thing has any kind of chance, I believe it needs a hotel.
Okay.
But it's got to be privately funded. It's
Well,
got
the
to be privately
hotels, the
funded.
hotel is a private. That's not part of the.
Yeah, but if you look
deal.
back at cities that have done convention centers and have come back later and put hotels in, those things ended up being financed or built by the cities to enhance the.
That's not the plan,
convention
and that's
center.
not.
Well, no matter what the plan is, let me tell you, once people are in power, that plan is fluid. And in an election year,
So you're saying that the current administration...
Do you believe Bill Sappho is going to sit there in front of the public and say, you know what, we'll probably have to finance this hotel? He's not going to do that in an election year. He wants to be reelected this year.
So you think that's what's going to happen?
He is going to say whatever needs to be said to convince people that he needs to be reelected.
What are you going to do if you're elected?
If I'm elected, we're going to that hotel has to be built by private funding. It is not going to be city funding. Now that cripples, I believe that whatever pulse that convention center has, it cripples it without the hotel.
3 seats are up for grabs on council.
Yes.
And the mayor. Looking at a midline scenario, if 1 or 2 of the current council members are reelected, 1 or 2, how well would you be able to lead a council that you've been pretty critical of overall?
Well, I can get along with most anybody that is reasonable. And I would work very hard to unify the council. Now, the unique thing about a council is everybody has their opinions. That's what makes it good. But you have to have the ability to work together to come to a consensus for the better of the citizens. And right now, I believe we have a council, not every one of them, but on the most part, our council works towards the benefits of their own personal agendas and the agendas of some special interest groups. And that is what I will eliminate.
How?
How?
Yeah.
Because I am not going to have a council. I am going to be as open as possible. When someone's working for their own agenda, I'm going to let the public know that that is what's going on. I'm not a closed door person. The government should have the open door all the time.
Who on council is working for their own agenda?
Bill Sappho, Margaret Haynes, and Jim Quinn.
The 3 that are up for re-election. Who
Well,
else?
no, Earl Sheridan is up for re-election. I don't believe Mr. Sheridan has as strong of a personal agenda, and I believe that he has some feelings towards the people.
Forget
But
the ones
these
that are up for
three-
election, because it sounds partisan. It sounds partisan when you say the only people on council that are working for their own personal interests are the ones that are up for re-election, and there's a whole slew of other people. Who else on council?
Well, you know what? All right, let's talk about that. Laura Padgett. Laura Padgett, I believe, sincerely works in her mind and in her heart, works for the betterment of the people. I believe she has the people in mind when she tries to make decisions. I believe that Christy Toomey, and I probably am saying your name wrong, but I believe she has a genuine interest in working with the people, but I believe she is swayed sometimes to go in a direction she don't necessarily want to go. You know, Mr. Sparks, I believe he is genuine about trying to help the people a bit more.
So
I've watched
the people that aren't up for re-election.
It just so happened that that's the way it fell. Just like all 3 of them are realtors up for re-election. I mean, I didn't plan it that way, but that's the way it appears.
The city manager is the top administrator for the city, wields a lot of power, makes a share of important decisions. Do you support the current city manager?
I have some problems. I have some problems with Mr. Cheatham. Does it mean that there are problems that can't be worked out, that can't be discussed, and that we can build a working relationship? I feel pretty good about that. But I also know Mr. Cheatham is looking for jobs elsewhere. So whether he'll stay with us or not is a question mark.
What's your position on Titan and its plans to build the nation's third largest cement plant in the Castlehane area?
I believe that they are permitted properly, and if they do all the environmental studies, all of them, do not shortcut any of them, including the public hearing portion of the environmental assessment, and they pass every single one of them, then I believe there is nothing that government can say to that company that will keep them from building that plant. I do believe it will help in the job portion of our problems here in our area. If they are going to be environmentally sound, then
so if the government permits them, you feel the government
all
is
the
adequate?
Government tests, I believe, are adequate to ensure our safety at this point. Now that upsets a lot of people. I know there's a bunch of people right now going, I can't believe he said that. But the bottom line is, if they pass all the tests and the laws that are in front of them today without any shortcuts, then how can you just say, well, I don't care?
Okay, let me move on because we're almost out of time.
Okay.
Recent front page story suggests that crime is a growing problem. You mentioned it a little bit earlier.
It is an awful problem.
Is that a reflection of the chief and the WPD?
No. I do not believe that
is.
I've sat with the chief and spent a large amount of time, and we're below the par as far as police officers to 1,000 citizens.
The chief says, though, that it's not really, the issue is the revolving door judicial system, is what the chief...
That is a big handicap, and that's where the mayor talks about going to Raleigh and visiting the politicians up there. We have elected officials right now, Danny McComas, Carolyn Justice. We work with those people to get those laws changed.
Have you read...
That's how we...
Have you read the Nightlife Task Force report?
I haven't read the report, but I've discussed it and heard much from it.
What's your position on it?
My position is that we need a larger police presence on every street corner down there during these times. I was an officer for 21 years myself. In Jacksonville, back in the mid-'80s, we had a problem with crime in the downtown area with the Marines and civilians.
We're just about out of
And
time.
I'm going to tell you, we put officers on every corner, crime went down, the place was under control.
Thank you, Paul Knight.
Thank you, Don and Sal.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Best of luck. Next week, the other side. Mayor of Wilmington looking for re-election, Bill Saffa will be our guest. Until then, I'm Donna Ansel for Byline Wilmington. We'll see you next week.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning at 11 as we explore the issues that concern you.